higher education funding board. This model, Honorable Speaker, aims to ensure equitable access to higher education by directly supporting students based on their financial needs rather than allocating funds to institutions. The shift, Honorable Speaker, from the previous funding is to move individualized and needs-based funding mechanism, funding to students. And it has three key elements. One is it has a mean testing instrument. It gives direct support to students, and it has special consideration to vulnerable groups. And this model, Honorable Speaker, is banded in five, or it has 5 levels. So it's banded in 5. It has 5 levels. One is level 1 includes the estimated household income of below 5,995 per month. The second level is a group of persons whose income is 5,000 to 23,670 per month. The third level is the group which estimated household income is between 23,671 to 70,000 per month. And level 4 group represents estimated household income between 70,000 to 119,000 per month. Level 5, this group represents estimated households income above 120,000 per month. So each student is supposed to benefit from this university funding model based on these 5 levels. Band 1, I want to give an example of Band 1. If a student is supposed to be banded as Band 1, this student will get a scholarship, a loan, a percentage of scholarship, a percentage of loan, and a percentage of household. Level 1, or referred to as Band 1, this is a group, these are students drawn from extremely needy and vulnerable backgrounds in the society. Their survival is heavily dependent on government interventions. These include needy orphans, applicants sponsored in the Ministry of Education Elimu Fund, applicants in social protection, safety nets, and applicants with disabilities who are included under affirmative action. Students classified in this band should be coming from households earning below 5,995. And these students will get 70% scholarship, they will get 25% loan, and they will get 5% household. Those students who are in level 2...
Order, member for Kitui.
Sorry.
Order, Robert Mbui. Is that Robert Mbui? Yes, you are now constituting a kamkunji, disrupting the proceedings of the House. Go on, Professor.
Thank you, Speaker. Band 2 are those students who are in level 2. These are the socio-economic gap between Band 1 and 2 is so blurred that it is no clear distinction. That is, but those students who are in Band 1 and Band 2, the difference is very marginal. However, compared to the Band 1, Band 2 have some income but cannot sustain their basic needs like clothing, food, and shelter. This Band 2 cannot survive without government support. Ideally, they deserve an equivalent government intervention like Band 1, but with variable loans and scholarship. This group includes estimated household income between 5,000 to 23,670 per month. So this category of 1,670 per month. So this category of students will get a scholarship of 60%, they'll get a loan of 30%, and they will have household of 10%. The third band, Honorable Speaker, which is categorized as level 3.
How much more to go?
We are in band 3, we have 2 more. This category...
Can you try to paraphrase, Professor?
Yes?
Yes, Naisula.
Mr. Speaker, I was actually going to rise on a point of order that question 2 and 3, since I have the statement, it's quite a lengthy response, and these are things that I can read and keep the ministry to account. The important parts would be the 5 bands, and she's in band 2, but also question 3 on the breakdown of the university fees, and the last question on how the needy students will not be left out. She can leave out question 2, which is quite lengthy, and go straight to question 3 and 4. Because that one she'll be addressing to the public as well.
Professor, can you, because it's a long, winding statement, can you go to the last part that the member would want probably to question you?
I stand guided, Honorable Speaker. So I was in band 3, which is level 3. Band 3 is a composition of needy people.
She said, leave those bands and go to part, you said part 3.
She said,
yes. Yes. Yes, give to Mutunga. Yes.
Honourable Speaker, that information is extremely important for us.
Okay, fine, go on.
Because we need to understand it as much as Kenyans need to understand it.
Go
and also
on,
the students. So please let her just read the 5 bands.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, band 3, which
Hold on, Professor. Yes. Because
Honorable Speaker, we would also want the professor to simplify it, so that if we are to communicate to even members of public, when you are telling somebody they are band 1, band 2, band 3, you know, even members of public are following these proceedings. Can she make it more simpler, that it is able to communicate to the parent who has even not gone to school?
Professor.
Honorable Speaker, in response to the statement which has been made by Honorable Mutunga, and
band 3.
Let me continue. These particular bands, that band 1 to 5, is the differentiation or the different categories or categorizations of students in the colleges and universities. And the category which a student belongs will dictate how much school fees they are going to pay, how much household they are going to get, and how much loans they are going to get from government. So at this level, I was in the student category who is considered as band 3 or level 3. And in this category, this is a category of people considered as needy with some modest income. That is a parent who is needy but has some income. And these are low cadre workers that also need significant government support to allow their students to continue. This is a group of people who get a salary or who get income between 23,671 to 70,000 per month. That is a parent whose income is between 23 to 70 is considered band 3. A band 4 parent or is at level 4. Yeah? Band 3 details. The scholarship they'll get is 50%, and then they'll get a loan of 30%.
Professor, there's a point of order. Yes, because Next.
You know, Honorable Speaker, Professor had already given us those bands that band 1 is this much to that much. Now, what we want to understand, how much does the student qualify to get? Yeah? Because you had already said in the first category, they are getting 75%, then 15%, then 5%. But how much is that? Yeah? Can you break it down in a more simplified way? That the amount of money is this, and they are qualified to get this. Then the second category will get this amount of money. The third category will get this amount of money. And the fifth category will get this amount of money. So that people know how much they can be able to raise and how much the government can be able to give.
Through the speaker, when I am done with the different bands, I'll give an example of each, an example of how much a student is going to get in each band. Okay, I can give only one. This is because I must give, allow me to finish the characteristics of every band, and then I'll now give an example of how much. For instance, if we pick a student who is going to take medicine in a university, how much are they going to get?
No, and I still believe what you are saying could have been said in
Band 4, level 3, these are middle income earners under differentiated unit cost. This applicant could survive without funding, but the actual program cost created a justification for government funding. This group represents estimated household income for between 70,000 to 119,000 per month. So in that case, these are a group of parents who are maybe comfortable, they have an income, but the problem is the program the student is going to take at the university, because a student who is going to take B.Ed is different from that student who is going to take medicine. So they'll get 40% scholarship, 30% loan, and 30% household. And then finally, we have the level band 5, which is level 5. Band 5 are high income earners with an estimated income of 120 and above, and might need some modest government support as well, depending on the family size, the number of children in school, and tertiary level. And they might need support simply because they have a heavy burden. And these are people within the bracket of, or people who earn more than 600,000, and they can do without any government support. In this case, if they apply, they get 30% scholarship, 30% loan, and 40% household. And I don't need to answer question 2. I move to the, I don't also need to talk about the ways the ministry is communicating to the various stakeholders. There are multiple ways. That one can be, that one is already in the public domain. So I want to give a clear breakdown of just one case of a student.
A point of order from Honorable Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Listening to Professor, and she's trying to do the best that she can to communicate this information from the chair, or to respond to the matter that was raised by the Honorable Naisula. But it's important for us to fully understand, as people's representatives, and I'm sure that the students are also listening, and parents, it seems not to be very clear on these indicators that we are going to use. Mr. Speaker, is it possible for Professor to explain clearly this 30%, or these other percentages, those who are not going to get because of the fact that they have other means? Because it's not clear, Mr. Speaker. As the MP for Kitui South, I still do not understand what I will tell the students in my constituency, what indicators are being used to identify those who get 30%. Is it a study that is going to be done so that it is done in advance, that we know who gets what percentage, so that students do not get stranded. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to comment.
Yes, Dr. Mutunga. Hold on, Professor.
Honourable Speaker, the students are picked by COOPs, and then they are also given a form alongside for scholarship. This is the form that they fill all the details about their family backgrounds, especially the socioeconomic background of the family. Based on what they are filled in the form, that criteria, the criteria the professor is discussing, is used to assess into which band they will be placed. When you are given 70% scholarship, it means if the fee is 150,000 a year, then you pay 30% of that fee. And then you also qualify for 20% as loan now. 30% is scholarship, and then 20% you are given as loan, which you can pay after you are employed, and then 10% is also given for the household, for the upkeep of the students. That's how this is interpreted. And the students need to know that. What is important is for them to fill the forms comprehensively and give the correct information so that they can be considered fairly. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. This is a very, very, very important discussion we are having, because a lot of students have actually despaired. They are not even going to fill these forms. They are not working on it because the initial forms that they received scared them off university places. I know there was a circular by the secretary, the principal secretary, that they withdraw those forms. But you see, Honourable Speaker, those forms have not been withdrawn. And parents are really struggling to try to raise. I know parents in my constituency who are selling land and all that because this information has not been unpackaged to them. I have had an opportunity to organize for a fora where I brought all students and I brought help and I brought COOPs to talk to them. But you see, I couldn't reach to everybody. And yet, the deadline is on the 15th, which is, I think, Thursday, for filling those forms. And I would like to request the Minister of Education to extend this deadline so that we have more students apply. Actually, there are more students who have not applied than those who have applied because the information is not getting to the student. So, Honourable Speaker, probably you need to give a direction to the new Cabinet Secretary that has taken office to fast-track this issue. One, to extend the deadline, and two, to ensure that officers from HELP, officers from COOPs go up to the sub-county levels, get the students and the parents to be educated and they are assisted in filling the forms so that we do not have any student disenfranchised because he didn't or did not get information. Honourable Speaker, this is important and I think your direction is needed.
Why don't we let...
thank you, Honourable Speaker.
All these are very valid points. Hold on, Isula. Professor, how much time do you require to finish reading the statement?
Honourable Speaker, just 5 minutes.
Pardon?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Let her finish, then you can...
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Mutunga has aptly put it that the data generated in this, for these percentages emanates from the student himself or herself. And more so, the ministry already has a lot of data from students because when they are joining secondary schools, they have their birth certificates, they have the details of their parents, and even from the NHIF card, which was still underused the other time, there is a lot of data. The ministry can access a lot of data in order to determine exactly how much an individual or a student can get. However, in situations where a student's data is not ably captured, they can always appeal. They also have appellate processes in this, in case you don't get the money. Mr. Speaker, I just want to give an example of a student who is categorized as band 1. That is that one who is very vulnerable and requires government support at all costs. I will give a case of a student who has been selected to take medicine, and that one who has been selected to take Bachelor of Arts. And Mr. Speaker, there was a problem initially where the ministry was giving student letters with which indicated a lot of money. Like our program for medicine, a student was getting a fee structure of 612,000. And it was not necessary for the ministry to give unnecessary information, because I'm sure most of the members here who went to the university in the 80s and 70s, they were only, the letters they used to get from the university only indicated the amount the household is supposed to pay. They were not given information on what the government was to pay, which I think the ministry erred on that. They should only give the student, the fee structure should only indicate the household support the student is supposed to be paying to the university. So one is a case of a student taking medicine. The program costs 612,000, Mr. Speaker. In this case, the student gets 70% scholarship, 20 and 25, that is 25% tuition. Sorry, the student gets 70% scholarship, tuition 25%, and in this case it translates to the 5% the household the student is going to take home is 30,000. Sorry, the student is going to receive from the government as household, that is the money for upkeep, will be 30,600. But a student who is going to do Bachelor of Arts, let's take for BA, this student, the fee structure is supposed to indicate 122,400. This student is supposed to pay 85,000, is supposed to get 85,680 scholarship, is supposed to pay to get 30,600 loan, is supposed to get upkeep 60,000, and is supposed to pay only 6,100. So every student, depending on the program you are going to take at the university, you will get your fee structure depending on the course, and your funding will depend on which information you fill in the form. So it's not a uniform amount. Every student will get information depending on the data which you have given. And the last question, not the last, the one which Honorable Naisola said I should maybe give was the issue of the letters, the fee structure on the admission letters. I think as a committee, we had communicated that to the ministry, and we had given them instructions that they withdraw the letters which they had been given prior, and issue them with new letters with indicating the fee structure which the student is supposed to be paying, not the entire amount where the government is supposed to be supporting the student. And Mr. Speaker, that is the end of my presentation.
Naisola?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't think Kenyans are in a position to still understand what is really going on with this higher education model. Having looked at the response, it's a good one, if it works or if it is implemented correctly. It happens also with anything new that is being introduced. But we have to be careful. And I want to ask my questions as such, because we can't joke with the education of our children. Many children will not report to school, to TVETs, universities, and colleges if this information is not clear. So my first question is this. It is clear that this is a generated information. You key in and it comes out. I'm asking, has the ministry tested that? Has it been fed? And what has come out of it?
Has it been piloted?
Yeah, in so many words. Has it been, I was trying to get the word. I wanted to ask, has this been piloted, and what has been the response so far from the pilot? The second thing is this: how will a child in the remote areas of Nyiro, in Samburu, Uko, remote, ensure that they apply and they get the information that they need using the online process? Lastly, The issue of the loan, what are the terms? Is it the normal help, or are there new terms with the loan? Because, you know, the government is giving a lot of money, including the upkeep and all that. So is that really, is it a loan, and what are the terms of it? And are children in private universities benefiting? Not the COOPS-taken children, but if I want to take my child to a private university, do I benefit? From this? So I think if first you could answer those questions, and then we'll see. And lastly, we don't want confusion. The deadline, as Honorable Mbaya has said, is on 15th. It's being closed. So have all our children applied sufficiently to ensure that they get the information? I've also seen that you've said children without national identity cards, they can use, you've said students without national IDs, provisional application processes allow them to apply using alternative identification such as KCSE index number. That is a very important information, because there are students who don't have IDs and they're wondering how they're going to apply for this.
Professor, you can take a few, then you respond. Nikal.
Mr. Speaker, a beautiful proposal that is not going on well because of just logistics and management. At this point, Mr. Speaker, what we need for every student is, you are in band 1, you are going to pay this much. Loan this much, loan this much. And household this. You are in band 2, you are going to pay this much. And this, then, because right now, Mr. Speaker, I spend the whole of Sunday explaining to parents. They don't know the letter they have is the letter that went earlier, which just says what the cost of the course is. So now then the letter says, but if you want government help, apply through this. So that all these details at this point, if the deadline is as it is, give parents a simple thing. Band A, band 1, you pay this much. Loan this. That's what they want. The details, then we will go into further communication. Number 2, say extend the time, because there's no time to do it, for application. So there are things you do to get things going while you are going into the simpler, the details that will work later on. Parents are going all over the place, trying to raise 500,000 shillings for medicine. Information, simple, this is what to do, and this is how, and then you can, that can be one advert on a page. Band 1 this, band 1 this, the percentage is this. Then you put that system where they can put in even with a mulikamwizi. And if you put your number, whatever number, then it tells you the band. Okay. So you know the band, you know what you're supposed to pay, then the rest we work out, Mr. Speaker. It's a crisis.
Kamei, Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me. I have tried to listen to Professor, Mr. Speaker. Even with my understanding of models, with my understanding of loan arrangements, with my understanding of bursary, I am more confused. And it calls, Mr. Speaker, when you finally give the direction, it calls for more communication to reach the people, to reach the students of this country. And we will not limit it, Mr. Speaker, to the newspapers alone. There are communication channels on the part of the government that should be used so that all the students who want to go to various courses can then get the information, Mr. Speaker. And I want in that kind of communication, for example, a student going to study Bachelor of Arts, a student going to study technology, a student going to study medical. This is the fee structure. And then this is the loan that will be given to the student. This is the bursary that will be given to the student, and this is the balance. Such communication, Mr. Speaker, will really help us be able to reach our people and explain this model, which is so beautiful that my colleagues are saying, but then it is clouded in some form of miscommunication and technicalities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In your own area of a lot of mastery, the book is Enemy of the People. A brilliant man by the name Dr. Stockman has a good idea, but the local man does not know. He loses it and he loses it all. What we are dealing with is a situation where the ministry has info, seems to have a procedure, but the people don't know. Therefore, I'll be asking you, Honorable Speaker, I rushed in specifically for this. You can save this country and the students and the education of the new students who are going to the university by possibly helping the House resolve and make a ruling to the extent that the deadline be extended, because that will really help as the new minister, whom we can now invite, comes down to write a proper memo that will indicate how the fee structures are. I don't want to repeat what the other members have said, because what came out has already discouraged some learners from going to the university. Number two, if the House, if you could make a ruling that again these students who are supposed to go to university, all of them go. Because last time when you were in such a situation, that was the resolve that was done, and it saved the situation. And then the rest of those issues will be done when they're already there, so that the ministry can have time to actually explain all these processes. When explained here, looks very good, but outside there, it's not communicated and it's not working. Parliament would have helped the entire education system for now. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Can you take your seat? This is your baby. And your member has tried her best. From what she has given to the House, even an above average member is not following clearly. And this requires some different approach. Honorable Meli, I'll give you time to tomorrow to come and inform the House at 2:30. One, whether there is a possibility of extending time beyond 15th, which is day after tomorrow. Two, whether you can employ a better mechanism of communicating to the students, including but not limited to having education officers that are deployed up to division levels to be the centers of communication and filling of the forms by the students with guidance from those officers. Number three, you can also find out from the ministry if they can delegate the universities of admission as agents for assisting the students when they go to the university to fill the forms, so that no student loses out because of either inadequate communication, poor communication, or miscommunication. Because from what Professor Barto has read to the House, the statement is begging more questions than giving answers. And as the chair of the committee, I would advise you and direct you, get to the ministry this afternoon, and I'll give you an opportunity tomorrow at 2:30 to make a proper communication. I'm sure our concerns are the same. Let the chairman go and get information and come and give to the House, because listening to Naisula, the questioner, to Dr. Nyikal, to Justice Kemei, to Omboko Milemba, to Mutunga, to Nyamai, to Owen, the concern is simple. A good idea, inadequate communication. A good idea, poor communication. A good idea, there is no clear implementation process. That is how I am understanding this issue. So if we agree to that, let's not belabor the point. Let the chairman and those with issues, I'll give you time tomorrow because we're already getting to 5. Yes. Yes, Kamket.
Thank you, Speaker. Indulge me, Mr. Speaker, as the chairman comes to respond to those matters tomorrow. 2 weeks ago, I saw a statement that was directed to TSC, and the committee has not responded to it, and I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, that we are going on recess. I'm not getting a reply from...
He is here, he has heard you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Address that. Members, I want us to... Yes, Mutunga, on the same issue. My direction is inadequate.
There is an issue that the chairman should clarify to Kenyans. Is this going to be for the first year's university students and colleges this year, or is it going to be for all students in school?
Yeah, that is a legitimate concern. Yeah. Are you dealing with the new entrants or all students?
Honourable Speaker, whether the ministry can actually put a pull-out in the newspapers explaining this to the simplest level, and also give those indicators. The indicators must be known. So
there must be various ways of communication. You do a pull-out in the nation. How many children in Kibish get the nation? How many children in some place in Baragoi get the nation? Yes. Yes, Naisula?
I didn't want to speak after your ruling, but tomorrow and Thursday I have some work at the constituency, Mr. Speaker, and I'll allow the chairman to continue and the members. I'll get the response. But I wanted to ask just one question, which you have to ask the ministry. Normally, when the students report to school, they are told you have to pay a certain percentage for you to be admitted. All right? So that student, since the government is taking, for example, 70% in terms of loan and scholarship, and the parent maybe is paying 30 or 30,000, and the student shows up and says that percentage is going to be paid by the fund, will that student be admitted? And even in future, when the exchequers delay, so that the fund is not payable to the school, will that student continue with their education? And finally, the same question on whether this is for all students or the new starting this financial year.
Odanga, I want to close here. I'm sure my direction has covered all your concerns. What is the issue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The issue is, I would like also to know, because usually the Higher Education Loans Board has loans, there is that scholarship, and also there have been bursaries. The issue of a bursary has not been addressed. Whether it is still there or it's not there, nobody has talked about it. I really want us to know. And Mr. Speaker, I think going forward, I would like to suggest that we will have to change our standing orders. The issue of members of parliament responding to ourselves, I think, should not arise. Because when we ask supplement,
we already changed the standing orders. You can create, the minister will come here and answer questions. It is not the old system. I thought I heard Professor Barto say money disbursed will be part bursary or scholarship and part loan for the students depending on the categories. If you want to know how difficult it is to understand this, I understood Professor differently from what Dr. Nyikal said. From what she said, I got the impression that a medical student paying 600 will get 75 bursary, 20 loan, and then you are left with 10%, is it? We are left with about 5% that you will pay. So clear all these things mainly tomorrow. I'll give you adequate time. As your colleagues go on recess, including yourself, you must have clarity of mind to communicate with Kenyans on what needs to be done. Is that all right? Okay, so those of you with concerns, be here tomorrow 2:30. so that we can deal with that. Honorable members, I also promised you that those who are interested in celebrating our gallant athletes who have brought fame and glory to the country, I'll give you 30 minutes from now so that you can be able to speak to this. I'll start with KJ. And because I'm sure many of you will want to speak. KJ, I'm told you have no athlete, leave those with athletes. But I've given you space, 2 minutes each.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the pole position. And I start first by congratulating the Kenya team. I know there has been a lot of things said about this team, especially about their performance this year. But I'd like to remind this House that they come back home as the #1 country, sporting country in Africa. And in the world, we are #2 in athletics. So, Mr. Speaker, the Kenya team has done very well. But for those of us who are bashing this team, we've got to remind ourselves that when you're sending a child to an examination, you make sure that they leave a house that is in order. The situation that was in this country before the team left is akin to sending a child to sit an examination when they're coming from an abusive house. Mr. Speaker, our national psyche, our national conversation, our national narrative is at its worst, Mr. Speaker. So we would not have expected this team to perform at its best. Mr. Speaker, the team that represented us in Paris had greats. Faith Kipyegon has done what no athlete has ever done in history. She ought to be celebrated. But even as we are celebrating the medal holders, we've got to remember a man by the name Kipchoge. He has done so well in his career. This one race that he did not finish cannot define his career. And finally, Mr. Speaker, soon after the Olympics, there is normally the Special Olympics. And Mr. Speaker, we want to ask each and every person who profiled the Olympics to profile the Special Olympics in equal measure. That includes the national broadcaster. If KBC could sponsor, could air live the Olympics, then KBC ought to give equal coverage to the Special Olympics. Those two are Kenyans, those two are athletes, and those two are flying the national flag. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity.
Member at the back, that's member 4. Member for Kiambu, yes, Mashua. Next to you. The mic next to you. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the behalf of people of Kiambu, I would like to congratulate the Kenyan Olympic team. They did very well and made us all proud. And I can remember how people were cheering and watching on TV. But Mr. Speaker, I have a concern about the athletes who have left Kenya because of greener pastures elsewhere. Today, in today's paper, we read about how the people who are leading the delegation, maybe not this year, but prior years, had taken advantage of the athletes. Mr. Speaker, you remember the lady who won the 3,000 steeplechase, called Wilfred Yavi, said that she was asked for a bribe of 200,000 so that she can represent Kenya. I think this is a great concern, and this should be arrested so that our athletes are not able to offer bribes so that they can represent our country. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is we should ask ourselves why are so many athletes leaving Kenya and representing other countries like Bahrain, even the United States. And this is because, Mr. Speaker, is because in those countries, these athletes are better looked after. They are